I be able to do the beginning without muffing it up? Who knows? Hello, BookTube, it's Louise, the Big Head Bookworm. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good day, wherever it is you are and whatever it is you're doing. Hello, how are you? It's 1:15 in the afternoon and the light is this bad. Actually, I'm wondering whether this is a good light for me. The gloom. Seeing me in the gloom. Yes, I've had to put a side light on because otherwise I really was sat in the gloom. So yeah, hello, it's Saturday the 14th of November and it is very November in England. I think we're at proper November in England. It's not quite cold enough, but it is wet enough and grey. We're going for shades of grey. Maybe not 50, but quite a lot. And it's blowing. We have a nice tree in the neighbour's garden. No laundry today. And the husband said, I've been waiting for that tree to drop its leaves before I cleaned up all the leaves that come into our garden. Because it's lovely, because it drops the leaves and they come into our front garden. Such it is. And it gave up because there were just so many other leaves. And that is, I think today could be the day that that tree decides to give it up. Give it up, friends. Most other trees are looking quite bare, actually. It's that kind of grey November day that I was going to go for a walk later, and I'm not going to go for a walk. The husband said I could just wrap up, and I said, no, I don't want to. It's too grey. So hopefully tomorrow will be a bit brighter. The door is open, so the fact that there is a little light there, a little dark bit there, is the fact that I've got the door open because I'm currently hosting two cats in the room. We have one cat and we have another cat. So we have Miss Molly here and we have a puddle of Indy just there. So there we go, we're double catting today. So yeah, how are you? Had an industrious morning. I was supposed to be doing something else. I was supposed to be doing some some study for work. But I might do that tomorrow instead. It wouldn't be the end of the world if I didn't, to be honest. I was just trying to get ahead, which I like to do because I'm that kind of nerdy kind of a girl. But instead I did some cleaning. Oh, exciting. It's an exciting life around here in the second lockdown. So I work as, if you're new here, I work as a pre-reg pharmacy technician in the local hospital. So I work full-time and I also study. And we've been doing the kind of clean, which is clean what you can see. I think we've been doing that recently. You know, both work full-time and busy lives. So even though, you know, in lockdown you don't do an awful lot, let's be honest. We've been doing that clean what you can see, and I just got to the point where I actually thought, no, I actually have to properly clean, you know, move stuff. It's an idea, isn't it? Move stuff and kind of clean under and above. And then I made the mistake of looking up and spotting the cobwebs. So this isn't an old house, but my word, do we have a lot of spider friends. We have a lot of spider friends. And they'd all been kind of creating art. And once you spot it, you can't unspot it. The husband never seems to spot it, but I do. I looked up and was like, oh, how long have all of they been here? So I had to, and I've just actually spotted one just there, which I now need to deal with after I filmed. So yeah, that's it. That's the kind of the excitement today. I don't mind having spiders in the house. If you're somebody that doesn't like spiders, then I can understand. It must be a bit grim, but I don't like spiders. And we did this thing, I think I talked about it before, where so that Benedict, our 12-year-old son, when he was weenier, did a thing where I named the spiders that we could see so that they weren't frightening. Because somehow if you name them, you know, like kind of Tom, Dick and Harry, you know, suddenly they're not so frightening. So we had Bob the spider in the bathroom. And whenever you used to go into the bathroom, you always used to say, hi, Bob. And, you know, he was just Bob the spider, and suddenly he's not scary, is he? If he's like part of the family, which did lead to that awful day when Daphne, our cat, ate Bob, because she did like a bug. She was a kind of a cat who liked a bug, and so suddenly there was Benedict going, "Daphne's eaten Bob." Quite. So yes, so that was. But then another spider came along, and we could just name them and not point it out to Daphne. Try not to do that, but yeah, she was a great cat for bugs. Any kind of bugs. She was brilliant at catching flies. Like that. She was great. Also liked butterflies and would stand there with the wings, which was a bit grim. That was less lovely. The puddle of India at the moment is on a mouse escapade. We're getting a lot of mice. I prefer them dead than alive, to be honest. I like them live out there, less keen on them live in the house, which did lead to that thing a couple of weeks ago when one of the cat's toys suddenly moved. So we have some cat's toys that look like mice, and there was one over there, and then the one behind it moved. I didn't know that there was a live mouse in the house. That's why he was sat there looking so thrilled, like, "I bought you a present. It's over there." Well, what are you looking so pleased about? And then the mouse toy moved. I handled it with aplomb and grace and just shrieked and said, "There's an mouse in the clouds, come and deal with it." And the husband was very good. He got out of bed, grumbled as they came downstairs, but he did just catch the mouse and get rid of it. He's very good. I mean, Indy's good at bringing them in, but he's good at catching them and releasing them to be caught again by the cat. So yes, although the other night Indy re-caught the mouse and took it out, we cheered and applauded, and he came back in the house and did a lap of honour. He was so pleased with himself. He was like, and I said, "See, if you don't bring them in, we're this pleased with you." Next day, another live mouse. So yeah, so that's kind of been what's happening with us this week. That's the kind of the excitement level that we're dealing with. I hope everything's okay with you, and I hope wherever you are, you're not experiencing the awfulness of the pandemic. I mean, it is just grim, and I do send out wishes to you, and hope you are well and all that you love are well. So yes, let's talk about books. Let's talk about books, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that we read. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about books. Yes, let's talk about books. So what have I been reading? I have finished 2 books this week. Oh, yes, I have. Oh, no, you haven't. Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I was on a bit of a reading kick this week, which was glorious. And so I finished the book that I was reading, which was A Woman Unknown by Frances Brody, which is a Kate Shackleton mystery. It is a cosy crime set in just outside Leeds, which is in the north of England in the 1920s. This is a series. Kate Shackleton is a private investigator who does have connections to the law. And yes, they are standalone mysteries, although they are in a sequence. But you can read them. I think you can read a one-off. It's better if you can start at the beginning, because it does kind of flow. There is a slight character development, and so she's at the start of this one. She's in a relationship with somebody who she's met in previous ones, and she continues to have not a relationship, but she continues to work with him. So there is character development, but you can read them as a standalone. So yes, so this is A Woman Unknown. A body is found by a chambermaid in a hotel in the morning, and the woman that was with the gentleman runs off. She's a woman unknown. And it's 2 strands to a mystery, but they merge, as these things did. It should be something I really love. I still cannot work out why I don't love these as much as I should do. I feel like there's something missing, but I can't tell you what it is. I don't think, well, I'm not alone in thinking that, but they are very popular. I have got a lot of them. I've read, so this is the fourth in the series, and I have the next two definitely, which is Murder on a Summer's Day is the next one. Murder on a Summer's Day. So I keep reading them, keep hoping that this is the one that I'm going to fall in love with, the series. The sixth one is called Death of an Avid Reader, and it's got a most gorgeous cover. And I kind of just want to read Murder on a Summer's Day, so I could then read that one because it's just such a pretty book, and I really want to read it. Which isn't really what you should do, but hey, we all choose books for different reasons. So yes, I did it. I read it. I didn't adore it, but it was perfectly functional as a murder mystery. And I've got a piece of hair that is sticking out. Stop that. Stop that right now. Put that in there. There we go. So there we go. A Woman Unknown by Frances Brody. Finished that. So then I turned to the Kindle because it was beside the bed. And that's why I turned to it. Now let me get to... Should have organised this before I started. So you're going to have to just bear with one moment as I get the cover up, which you can do. Just need to sort this out. Here we go. And I can show you the cover of the book that I finished. I started and I finished. Go on. There we go. I'll try and do it so it doesn't show. There we go. It is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. The Kingdom. Is that a lovely cover? Actually, the book edition that I've seen, I don't know whether this is the American cover, because the book that I've seen advertised to buy in this country doesn't have this cover. Oh, a cup of tea. Made by the husband as well. So The Kingdom by yes, it's not the same. It's more kind of two halves of a face with a bit missing because it's about hybrids. So as you can see, there is a kind of Disney theme, well, kind of with the castle. So it's where happily ever after is not just a promise, but a rule, and it is about a big kind of fantasy resort a la Disney / Westworld, and there are these 7 princesses who are hybrids, and they have all these animals as well which are hybrids, and they have they brought back extinct animals. So they've used their technology to bring back extinct animals as well as these 7 princesses. And so they are kind of the ultimate kind of princesses, and you can do meet and greets with them. So if you imagine when you go to Disney, you can go up to the kind of the characters. Well, they are 7 princesses of all different kind of myths across the world, and so they're not all just white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. They are from all around the world, all the different kind of myths, and it is from the perspective, the story is from the perspective of one of those hybrids called Anna, and it is her story, and it is told in kind of split narrative in the fact that it's not it's forward and back in time. So there's about a trial, so you're told that there is a kind of a trial, so a trial has happened and she is under lockdown, she's been interviewed, so you have kind of interview transcript and you have trial transcript, and then you have her narrative from her perspective, and it flips backs and forwards from 15 months before the trial to after the trial, and it's like that. It's a mystery. So I went into it not knowing anything about it. Let's be honest. I cannot remember where I saw it to the point that I downloaded it. So obviously at some point I saw somebody talk about it, or I read about it somewhere and I downloaded it. Can I remember what or where that was? So if it was on somebody's channel, unfortunately I can't remember. But it must have been enough of a draw that I thought, oh, I'll get that. That sounds great. So I got it, and I was just literally went, oh, I can't remember anything about that. Clink, start reading. And it was a very easy book to read, so that it had that going for it. I liked the concept of it, and it had enough kind of little cliffhangers that you kept going. It was well. I thought it was well paced, and it was in an interesting story because obviously something had happened. There was a murder of some kind, or some event had happened, and it was interesting enough, and just weird enough that I was into it. So I read it, and I would say up until about 60-70% in, I was completely there. Thought it was well executed, interesting story, well paced. I was hooked, I would say, up until about 60 and 70%. And then something happens and I suddenly realised it's a YA book. And it all went a bit downhill for me there. I think that is, and I can't tell you what that is because that would completely spoil it for somebody that was going to read it. And I don't think it is necessary that it's the book's fault. I think it was more just my taste. So there was a particular trope that came along and I just went, oh. And then it made me kind of fall out of the story a bit. And then I realised, I then saw the stuff I hadn't seen. It made me realise how it had been set up, and I saw the mechanics of the story. When I was in the story and I was hooked and I was going along with the pace and I was kind of invested in it, I didn't see the mechanics of the story. But then I suddenly did, which is kind of because it's kind of showing you the behind the scenes of this kind of Disney / Westworld thing. So it is giving you the kind of the back, and it was literally like that with the story. I suddenly thought, oh, I see what you're doing here. And it felt clunky from then on. Up until that point, it hadn't. I was invested enough, but then suddenly I saw the kind of the faults in the story. I saw the two-dimensional sides of it. I feel it could have been, if it wasn't for, I feel that it was a really good concept, very good concept, not totally original, let's be honest, but it was a good enough concept that it could have gone somewhere else. I wish it had been darker, and if it had been darker and it had more light and dark in some ways, but it had more dark in it, and that Jess Rothenberg had gone somewhere a bit further, I'd have enjoyed it more. But then I think that's the difference in the audience. I think that's the difference in the fact that I'm not 17 and reading it, or I'm not a young adult reading it. But I think I can imagine if you were 16, 17, and no, I'm doing it a disservice. I don't think it's that bad. I just think it's not for me. That's not to say I regret reading it, and I just wish it had gone a bit further. I wish it was darker. And you can't have everything, can you, with a book? So it had enough that it had making me think. But I got to 90%, and at one point I thought I could almost stop reading it now because I know what's going to happen. I could kind of just stop now, but I didn't. I did finish it. So that was that. So that's The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. I'm not sure. Obviously, I do recommend it, kind of, because I read enough of it. It was, but at one point I was thinking I'm going to have to try and get myself a physical copy of this, because I'm enjoying it so much. And then I thought, no, actually, not going to bother. But yeah, so yes, that was The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. So that's 2 books that I've read that I haven't, loved. Then I tried another book that I had on here, which I'm just looking down because I'm trying to get the cover of it up, because again I didn't organise this beforehand, even though I knew I was going to record. Here we are, that's a bit easier. Is this going to show up? Okay, let's try it. Nope. That's terrible. That was good. There we go. Neal Stephenson's Seveneves, which I keep wanting to call 7 Eyes. Well, it isn't 7 Eyes. It's Seveneves. So this is it's an adult science fiction novel. It's a good chunky one, if you've spotted it on the shelf. It was rather popular when it came out, which was, 2-3 years ago? She says reaching a bit. I'm trying to think. I got it down. I downloaded it when it was on offer because a friend of mine said, I've just finished this and I reckon you'll really like it. And I'd love to hear your opinion of it. 2-3 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I love a science fiction novel and I love a big chunky one. Can you see that okay? It's kind of green and groovy looking in real life. And I felt like I wanted a change of genre. I didn't want to read cozy crime. I didn't want to read YA. So I thought, go and science fiction, because I do love science fiction. And I haven't read a really good science fiction book for a while. This isn't it for me. I can see how many pages. I've read about 50 pages, maybe a bit more than that, and then thought, no. This happens like straight away, so this isn't a big thing. This will be on the back. So the moon, something happens to the moon and it breaks up in an explosion, and it goes into 7 pieces, the 7 Eaves, like that, and it's what happens from them. And obviously it's a very chunky book, and so I was right at the beginning of it. The reason I stopped then and didn't carry on isn't because it isn't well written, isn't because it's not a fascinating idea, it's because it's post-apocalyptic fiction. It's dystopian post-apocalyptic fiction, and that is just not my thing. I have read so many hoping that this will be the one that turns me on to post-apocalyptic, that makes me get all a frisson of excitement when I think about it. And even though they're well written and even though they can be gripping, I really struggle. I don't like post-apocalyptic dystopian fiction as a genre. I get weary immediately. And I got weary immediately with this. And read it, I remember thinking at the time it was recommended to me, will I like this? I'm sure I will. I'm sure it won't be, because there's obviously a lot more to it, because it's about kind of the fact that people have to kind of leave the world. But I'm better when they've already left the world and it's what happens after that. So I'm thinking of something like A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. That kind of science fiction I adore. So when it's whatever's happened has happened and the civilization has been created, I'm with you. I'm there. Or just other science fiction, but the actual apocalyptic and the mechanics of what happens, I'm just not interested in whatsoever. And It doesn't matter how many times I've tried it, I'm just not interested in it. So I think I'm just going to call it quits on that particular genre. So I started that, realised it was post-apocalyptic dystopian future, and thought, yeah, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to, and I haven't got enough time to kind of really work at something that I'm not really enjoying. So that was at lunchtime when I was at work, and so I only had my Kindle with me, and so I have started something that I had on, and I'd read the first chapter, which I now have to get the cover up because it's not allowing me. It's now not, it's frozen. Why have you frozen? Let's try that. Here we go. It's a different way of doing it. Hostage to Pleasure by Nalini Singh. And this is a side changeling novel. I wasn't really thinking that that was particularly in a mood for fiction, for romance. This is adult romance. Know what I'm saying? And I wasn't thinking that this was going to be something that I wanted to read, but I was sat at lunchtime, flicking through my Kindle, and I thought, oh yes, I've started this, it'll be a quick read, and so I started. And this was only yesterday's lunchtime, so I'm only kind of chapter 4. And this is something like the 5th or 6th in the series. It's called Hostage to Pleasure, and it's a, what they kind of call, the kind of urban fantasy, romance, adult romance. Yes, very saucy. If you're into that kind of thing, mind you, Nalini Singh is very into that kind of thing, as am I, and I enjoy them. I do enjoy them. So I'm going to read that. Whilst I think of what else I'm going to read, I want to read something brilliant. That's what I want to read, and I want to read something new and brilliant. Not new as in, I don't know why I clapped then, and not new as in brand new out there, just as in new to me. So I'm going to have a look at the books that I've got that I haven't read and choose something. I don't know what it is. I have a suspect I might be picking one particular book that I spotted on the shelf the other day, and I wondered about picking it up, and then picked up Seveneves, actually. Seveneves, yes. I really do want to say Seven Eyes. So that might be my next book. And that is well old. Not as in classics, but it's new to me and I haven't read it. So that could well be it. Or I might pick something else. What you're doing, you look like you're not putting, no, they're not putting laundry out for a moment there. What? No, it's fine. And there we go. I'm going to leave it there. So I finished 2 books. Finished this, read The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg, started and DNF'd Seveneves by Neal Stephenson because it's just not my kind of thing, and I am now reading Hostage to Pleasure. Hostage to Pleasure. He's a one, isn't he? I just want to give that cat a little wipe if I was you, man. Especially in these times. So yeah, there we go. So I leave you with the views of the 2 cats. Puddle of Indy. Molly all curled up. And yeah, I hope you are well. I hope you're having a good day wherever it is you are. And let's do this again. This has been lovely, BookTube. I look forward to seeing you again.